Hi, I'm Maddie. I'm from Asura Studios. We're making Call of the Golden Valley, which is a first-person mystery narrative game about people going disappearing in the mountains of Victoria, Australia. And I've got Ben with me here.
Hello.
Who's our amazing composer and sound designer. And he's going to tell us all about how he's approaching the sound and the music for this game. Okay, so Marissa's room. This is the demo. Let's talk about the sound design for Marissa's room.
Yeah. Well, approaching the scoring, the first step that I took with this piece was I loaded up the environment that had been built, and there was no real functionality in place, but it was it was really just walking through the environment in a linear way and using that as a starting place to write a piece of music. And that, in parallel with the really detailed story notes that we exchanged, kind of gave me a really good starting place to start building that idea of tension and curiosity.
Yeah.
So once I handed you that quite linear piece, I think that sparked a bit of discussion about how can we translate something linear into a player experience that's completely, non-linear by nature.
Yeah, this is one of the big differences, I think, between sound for games and sound for movies, is that movies, that at like 17 minutes and 54 seconds, that like closet door is going to be opened, and that's, you control everything. In games, like particularly in Marissa's room, there's several things that you can find, and we have no control over what order people find them in, and we don't want to have that control. But one thing that we sort of had fun thinking about was, how do we convey this idea? The original idea was, right, we keep finding things in her room, and we want to ratchet up the intensity of the music as sort of you're gaining more and more information and getting a bit clearer picture of what happened. Mm-hmm. But how do we do this when we have no idea what order people are going to find things in, or even when they're going to find them, and even if you can play through the demo without finding everything. Yeah. So that's where Ben and his amazing FMOD skills and composition came into it. Do you want to talk a little bit about your parameters and your sweet transitions? Maybe
we can open up the FMOD and do a bit of a breakdown.
Cool.
We are in FMOD. So this is my audio middleware, which is basically a tool that we use in our game engine.
Yeah, so what Ben has done really nicely for me, and this is sort of how we like hand off the audio to the programming, is we have this parameter at the top that says Marissa progress, and this indicates how far we are along into the story. And again, it's not linear, so different things might ratchet it up. And then I, as the programmer, all I have to do is say, cool, did we find something that should ratchet the music up? Yes?
Yeah.
Bump it.
Yeah. So it's just a bridge between my world and your world. And it simplifies what we're actually exchanging into one little value, because neither of us really understands what the other does, just that it works, right?
Yeah. And what's great about this is that Ben has done, this is sort of the art part of it. He's made it really, really smooth. So it's pretty subtle. I mean, because we're talking about it and it's happening, it won't seem subtle, but in the game, it's actually pretty subtle.
Yeah. So shall we begin?
Yeah.
So, essentially,
This is the baseline.
The player's walking onto this farm down the driveway, and there's birds in the trees, the sun's shining. It's this quite lovely environment. And in playtesting, we've seen players spend quite a lot of time just exploring, looking in a tree,
patting the cows,
whatever it is. So this introductory loop has needed some refinement because we found it was way too repetitive to start with. And, you know, we may still decide that that's still the case. But
when you listen to it all day, every day.
Yeah, it's easy to go nuts listening to your own music. So the first progression is the players now entered the room and found an item, any item.
Yeah.
Is that correct? So
any pertinent item.
Yeah. So basically that goes up, and then each of these little green lines is the next little checkpoint for that to progress. So how the music works is there's this 4-bar loop of chords that carries on, and then when the player finds a new item, that waits for the next appropriate time and switches to the next loop in sequence with itself. So
it's not an immediate transition, because that would have created kind of some hard edges, and also would have been more challenging from your perspective of making that a smooth, like nice transition.
We were sort of hoping to serve the overall music rather than serve that specific moment of opening a letter or something, because
it's not a sting. It's just that this extra information adds to your understanding. And so we thought, as long as it comes eventually, you know, within some reasonable time frame, it's not like a cue of like, oh my gosh, you found something. That's a different type of sound design. This is messing with the background music.
Yeah. And it's a slow burn. It's not. This is the point of this scene. I think what we're getting at here is the point of the scene is there's a cumulative effect of this information. It's not a single discovery, but it's the whole picture coming together is what creates the emotion. And so there's not really a singular moment we're trying to hit.
No.
So the slower paced nature of the way this is set up works quite well.
The slow burn actually got me the first time I was playing this through with the sound like hooked in and installed. And like maybe I was a little bit tired as well, but you know, we get to this final conversation at the end of the demo and you have this clear picture and you're sort of having like a bit of a tough conversation and the music's going, and I turned to my partner and I was like, I'm getting feelings from this, even though I created these feelings, like I'm getting them thrown back at me, and it was really lovely, but also a little, I wasn't prepared for it. You caught me out, Ben.
I think that's the best feedback. It's the best feedback you can get. So you can start to hear these layers of instruments, the cellos coming in underneath, and this was all part of that short demo that I wrote. And there's quite a nice effect when you stretch it out like this and just ponder on it for a little extra time. Is like, as each layer comes in, it has a bit more weight to it, perhaps.
Yeah, it just gets a little bit heavier. And I mean, I know we were joking about you get sick of listening to your own music, but other than the very base level, like sort of the neutral, like gentle one, which we've now added a little bit extra, I really don't get sick of listening to this. And like I spend a lot of time in Marissa's room listening to this music, whether I want to or not.
Well, I would say in my own music practice, having spent a lot of years making techno, you laugh, but
No, I love your techno use.
well, the essence is creating really slow changes over time and doing a lot with a little. And that's, for sure this isn't a club track, but it's about that slow change over time.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a mindset that I really like to use.
Yeah.
And equally, I would add to that, performing as an electronic musician, a lot of the tech and techniques that I developed doing that is something I've been able to bring into game audio, because you're creating transitions, you're creating a sequence of events that you're triggering.
And you're setting moves.
And in this case, the player's triggering. But having a system-based approach, it's very much in line with what I spent doing for the last 10 years or so of my life.
I really love that the techno background is serving what superficially sounds nothing like that. Right? Narrative game set in Australia, techno. But I actually love it, and it makes perfect sense once you say it. I'm like, no, that makes a lot of sense.
So at this point, this is the transition between the most the final piece of information the player finds, which is we're not going to reveal.
No spoilers here.
But then there's a phone call that comes in.
Yeah, so you find this sort of like somewhat damning piece of information that, hopefully, if we've done our puppet mastering right, causes you as a player to become a bit concerned.
Yeah.
And then you get a phone call that comes in, which sort of summarizes it. This is the one that was giving you the feels. Summarizes it and really has you sort of reflect on what you found, what you know, and how you want to play that moving forward. So.
And then after this section ends, we reach the final progression. And that melody comes back in. And there we are. So that's our horizontal adaptive music setup for our demo level, Marissa's room.
Thanks for opening up the back end.
Well, thanks for joining us for this little breakdown of some of the music I've been creating. And I hope that's been interesting and given you a bit of an insight to the compositional process and some of the unique aspects of writing music in a game.
Yeah. We hope this was fun, informative, educational. I always like my chats with Ben. Definitely play the demo, play it with the sound on, get some headphones on, and pay attention for the sound transitions we were talking about. See how it makes you feel. Listen to the birds chirp.
See you for the next devlog. Ciao.